The first season of WandaVision, Marvel's episodic extension of their cinematic universe, very cleverly referenced the history of American sitcoms from the 1950s through the 2000s, as Disney used its powerful new streaming service to suck out everyone's brainwaves and transmit them back to their top-secret facility where it is being stored for. The first season of WandaVision, Marvel's episodic extension of their cinematic universe on the wonderful new Disney Plus streaming service, very cleverly referenced the history of American sitcoms from the 1950s through the 2000s, and was fittingly shot in large part on the section of the Warner Brothers backlot known as The Ranch, which many American sitcoms and films have used for its typical suburban settings, including the very, very early DC film universe. Let's dive in. Wanda and Vision's dream house is located on the WB Ranch on what is known as Blondie Street. Blondie Street is so named for an inexplicably long-running and popular film series based on an even longer-running and inexplicably popular daily comic strip, Blondie, which is so painfully dull and unfunny it makes the family circus look like The Far Side. The paper-thin premise is this: the wife is blonde and the husband is a yutz who likes sandwiches. That's it. Yet somehow it still appears in newspapers to this very day, over 90 years after its creation. Exactly how and why is a mystery for someone else to unravel. Anyway, between 1938 and 1950, Columbia Pictures made an astounding 28 Blondie films. That's 28 films in 12 years. And you thought Marvel made a lot of movies. Of course, I had to at least sample them to make this video, and I kid you not, this is the very first scene from the very first movie I picked completely at random.
Why are you delivering the papers?
I never did see so many measles.
You got the measles?
No, I got the papers, but I'd rather have the measles.
I could see why these were so popular. I mean, those silly Negroes.
Well, I'll be doggone.
Yeah, that was enough for me. What immediately sprang to mind was Robert Townsend's brilliant 1987 film, Hollywood Shuffle.
I don't know why we leaving Mouse's house. He been good to us.
It's pretty much all about the type of crap you just saw in that Blondie clip. It's hilarious, and I highly recommend it. I definitely give it the serious high five. And I give the Blondie movies the finger. Back to the topic at hand. In the second episode, which is set in the 1960s, Wanda discovers a mystery drone outside of her house, which, by the by, is also the Griswolds' house from Christmas Vacation. When who should appear but nosy neighbor Agnes. They take a stroll up the sidewalk to Dottie's house next door, which, by the by, was also Roger Murtaugh's house in the Lethal Weapon movies. It was burned down in Lethal Weapon 4, but rebuilt nearly to the same specifications afterwards with the addition of this upper extension. Since it's next door to the Griswold house, that also makes it Todd and Margot's house, which I mention mainly as an excuse to include my favorite bit of dialogue from the movie here.
Hey, Griswold, where do you think you're gonna put a tree that big? Bend over and I'll show you. You've got a lot of nerve talking to me like that, Griswold. I wasn't talking to you. Yeah, boy!
Now, if they had been walking up the sidewalk a few years earlier, they might have been alarmed to see a certain pair of Cape Crusaders pulling into the driveway. In 1949, the second of Columbia Pictures' Batman film serials, Batman and Robin, used this simple two-story house for the residence of millionaire playboy Bruce Wayne. Back then, the Warner Ranch was the Columbia Ranch backlot, so of course it made sense production-wise for them to shoot it there. Still, with all the fancy Wayne Manors we've seen over the years, and given the fact that he is a millionaire, this just seems a little weird.
In the suburbs of Gotham City is the home of Bruce Wayne.
And even weirder still because our heroes make no attempt to disguise themselves as they travel back and forth from Bruce Wayne's personal car. Yeah, there's no Batmobile. And in and out of the house still dressed as Batman and Robin. Maybe it was the only available place around with a cave underneath it. All this weirdness is amplified by the fact that one of the antagonists of the film lives in an actual mansion. Well, at least you could see the house, I guess, as all you get in the first film serial from 1943 is this single, sad shot.
High atop one of the hills which ring the teeming metropolis of Gotham City, a large house rears its bulk against the dark sky. Outwardly, there's nothing to distinguish this house from many others.
I'll say. Why someone shot it creeper style from through the neighbor's bushes across the street is anyone's guess. Usually I'm not one to give up on the challenge of finding a film location, but in this case, I gotta throw up my hands. So unless someone else can identify the 1943 mansion from that grainy black and white serial killer POV footage, this will remain the oldest known Wayne Manor. Unfortunately, the WB Ranch is not open to tours by the general public, pandemic or no, so if you want to have a look, you'll have to be content with the Google Street View of it. It's easily navigated too through the WB's Ranch website. You can even explore some of the interiors of the houses
and download a sweet PDF of the ranch facilities.
But remember, this is an industry website, so don't email or call them about the Friends Fountain, because even though it's still pictured on the ranch website, it was actually moved to the main Warner Brothers lot. So once the WB studio tours reopen, you and your friends can go down and take pictures in front of the fountain and punch each other in the dick or whatever. The fountain was actually moved in advance of Warner Brothers' sale of the ranch. It's part of a massive multi-phased project that I was dismayed to read also includes Frank Gehry designing Warner Brothers' new office buildings. Now, if you don't know who Frank Gehry is, he's sort of a polarizing figure in modern architecture. He's famous for designing Walt Disney Concert Hall in downtown Los Angeles, along with various other buildings that are, well, let's be charitable, interesting. I'll be honest, whenever I see one of his buildings, I hear this. I don't know if that's a sign of quality architecture. I mean, I'm no expert. But if so,
Bravo!
But hey, let's let his new design speak for itself. Yeah, I think I'm going to need a little more of an explanation. Here's a quote from Gehry about the project. Maybe this'll clear it up. Once upon a time, Hollywood studios had an important architectural presence in the city. They were like monuments to the movie-making process. From the freeway, the buildings are composed as one long sculptural glass facade that creates a single identity, like icebergs floating along the freeway. I think that Hollywood is the very first thing that pops into most people's heads when they hear the word iceberg. Definitely not lettuce, or the Titanic. I mean, if I wanted to listen to grandiose drivel from a pompous, self-satisfied architect, I just watched The Matrix Reloaded.
Take that, Matrix Reloaded.
Anyway, there you go. The ranch goes bye-bye in 2023. Who knows? Maybe they'll keep it as an operating movie studio. Maybe they'll just build condos. Either way, what a dick. Before we leave the ranch, one more little Easter egg for you, right in the face. Nosy neighbor Agnes lives at what was once known as 1164 Morning Glory Circle, or the residence of Darren and Samantha Stevens on Bewitched. This is, of course, a play on the fact that Samantha's mother, Endora, was played by Agnes Moorehead. And 3, 2, 1.
I get it. I don't like it.
Okay, fine. Let's try this then. Before Columbia built Blondie Street on its backlot, the bulk of the Blondie movies utilized a real residential street in Studio City. As a matter of fact, that crappy clip from earlier, yeah, that was filmed on this street. And the name of the street? So I guess it was Agnes all along. Huh?
I like it.
I thought you might. I'll be delving into the filming locations of the 1940s Batman serials more deeply in upcoming videos, so I hope you'll subscribe and stay tuned. I'll also be talking more about Disney and their eventual plans for world domination.